bottom of page 43, 1318, and we're up to the second word, Avram, with a Rivi'i, so going to be a broader sense to the word. Avram compared the temporary features of the tent with the character of the initial ownership of the country, as pointed out by the broad meaning of the reading mark. So Avram's presence is going to mirror what he's doing by having temporary residences there, with the understanding that his dominion over the land is going to be temporary, but he is also making the pathway for a more permanent ownership later on.
Yeah.
Vayavo with the tavir, so this is a note that has that sheltered quality to it. And he came, number 3, he complied formally with the validity of the offer when the land was presented to him for possession, and he came to various places by different directions, as shown by the shape of the reading mark. So he's going to come from one direction, and the next word again with that sheltered tavir, Vayavo tavir, Vayeshev tavir, number 4. Similarly, he emphasized his acceptance of the land not only by walking, but also by the reality. And he settled there, establishing his domicile in the area, as stressed by the shape of the reading mark. So not only is he just wandering through, but rather he is allowing himself to be an influence in all the places where he goes.
It's very to the views, isn't it?
Yes. So again, pause, and then pause. Ve'eloneh, by oaks of, with a mercha, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving us forward, in order to avoid conflicts and hostilities with local dwellers by use of their property, although he was already the legitimate owner of all the land. Avram had chosen to dwell in a bushy region surrounded by oaks of the place, as denoted by the directional shape of the reading mark. And
the terebinth, what we said before, an oak, is part of the oak family. What is it? Terebinth?
I don't know.
Because usually that's how it's translated, even though alone is not oak.
Sure.
It's like I'd say shitim, it's a cedar, but acacia is a form of cedar. There's a big cedar part.
I would presume they're both within the same family, but I don't claim to know that exactly. Mamre with the tipcha, so this is focusing us backwards and pausing slightly afterwards. Avram's main reason for choosing Mamre to live in was the location, which had for him great importance, as suggested by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, looking up terebinth, small southern European tree of the cashew family is forming a source of turpentine, but it's also known as Pistacia palestina. Sorry.
And again, is that in the oak family?
It's in the cashew family. I don't know. Cashew family.
But then pistachio is
Pistacia terebinthus.
Terebinthus?
Terebinthus from the western Mediterranean. Terebinth in English? Pistacia terebinthus.
We will continue on.
Yes,
Asher with a munach, so this is distinct from what's come from before and moving us forward into what's going to go afterwards. A fact of the past that appealed to Avram was decisive for his decision to elect that particular spot for his habitation, as expressed by the shape of the reading mark. So that place is going to have influence on him going forward. Bechevron, on Chevron, with the stabilizing etnachta. While living in Mamre, his interests were concentrated on Chevron, because there he found the resting place of Adam and Chava, and this occupied his utmost attention, as specified by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So he found something special in Chevron and wanted to be near it. Vayiven Sham, with a mercha, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving us forward, and he built there. Avram gave the first sign of tenancy, and he built there a planned architectural structure to be suitable for expressing his ideas as illustrated by the directional shape of the reading mark. So he's going to take all of these temporary wanderings and now start to exert a more permanent influence that's going to go forward. Mizbeach, an altar, number 10, excuse me, with the closing tipcha. Instead of starting from establishing occupational commodities or dwelling purposes, Avram erected an altar as a thanksgiving for his present placement and for the future, as conveyed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So the first thing that he wants to do is not to make it a better place to live, and not to earn money there, and not to earn a living there, but rather to be thankful for the fact that he's there at all. Lashem, separated out from the words before, because the tipcha has a pause afterwards. So God again is going to stand alone, that word, with the stabilizing of pasuk. Avram's endeavors would not have any meaning to him if they were not for God, in whom he saw the guardian of the world, himself and his children. So he realizes that God is going to stand alone in a separate category and not be defined by him or by his progeny, and yet he is going to pay reverence to that by giving it a place all of its own. And we have a remark in relation with the end of the previous sentence. The altar seemed to be a thanksgiving for the land, etznena, that I'm going to give it to you. If so, it appears to be a repetition of et haaretz etain, that I'm going to give the land to you, which we already had previously. However, in the previous sentence, the altar was in appreciation of the initial temporary giving of the land. So when Avram first comes to the land, he also builds an altar. Etain is Lashon Tsar, the narrow spelling of etznena, I will give it. But in this sentence, there's an expression of broad, permanent ownership, ad olam. After changing many instances of various sovereignties, with the wide spelling, etnena liruchba. I'm going to give it as in the widest sense of going to give it. I'm going to give it for now and for generations to come, whereas the previous etain was in the more narrow sense that I've given you something different from what you had before, and here I'm giving you a place to continue to influence forever. As we read through the sentence, we're going to see that the first phrase, Vayahal Avram, is going to stand alone. Avram is going to approach the land the way that he knows that God has given it to him temporarily and yet permanently, so he's going to have both of those influences. Vayavo, he's going to come, pause, Vayeshev, and he's going to now start to spread his influence. And again, pause, the Elonei Mamre, in this area in this treed area, Asher b'Chevron, and he wants to bring himself closer to something that has a more eternal character about the land. Vayiven Sham Mizbeach, and his first act is going to be something of showing thanks, and he's going to elevate God by realizing that he stands alone with the word, with God's name, being separated out from the tipcha with a pause, and separated out from the future sentence with the sof pasuk. And by the way, at the end of the aliyah here, Vayahal Avram, Vayavo, Vayeshev, Ve'elonei Mamre, Asher b'Chevron, Vayiven Sham Mizbeach, Hashem.
How do you know it's the end? I mean, the end of the parak, but how do you know? Because you know this.
Yeah, that's
Also, yeah.
And
He never
we'll
says that.
stop at this spot.
He never says that.
go ahead.
No, he does not say end of aliyahs.
Which is funny, since he goes into the note, the trope, you'd think that he...
Go ahead.